You don't need video to make a video. What I mean is that you can make a badass video using only still photos and an audio interview. There are lots of good ads that use still photos instead of video. And what's great about using photographs instead of video is that it's easier to take a good photo than it is to capture good video. Your organization may even already have access to lots of great photos that volunteers, employees, and your clients have captured over the years. The most popular video we've ever done was actually made using photographs. A couple years back, a gentleman named Adi Somek approached us to do a video about his trip to 37 countries where he made balloon hats for people. We were really excited about the project, and we recommended that he recreate his trip and fly us around the world filming him making the balloon hats. Unfortunately, his budget was next to nothing. So we ended up just interviewing him about his trip while he sat in a chair. He ended up being awkward on camera, and the footage was pretty dull. At the end of the interview, he mentioned that he had a stack of photos from the trip. This was great news. We finally had some decent B-roll for the video. But we still had to overcome his mediocre interview. So we came back to his home the very next day with a secret weapon, a 6-pack of beer. We sat him down on his living room couch, got him tipsy, turned on the recorder, and asked him one question. What kind of idiot travels around the world putting balloons on people's head? 40 minutes later, we walked out of his home with one of the best interviews we've ever done.
Every time you turn on the news, it's always bad news. Mayhem, dysfunction, arson, rape, beheading. And that the world can't possibly be that dysfunctional all the time. Or we wouldn't have progressed past the caves if that was all that humans did. Charlie literally, just out of nowhere, had the idea and said, it'd be amazing to go around the world and make people balloon hats and take photos of them. The idea was to show that there is functionality in human beings and social interactions. We did 7 trips to 34 countries over 3 years. We had this feeling that there was a universal nature in life. Everyone can see the relative things. It's quite apparent, different languages, different gods, different everything. But that there are also some things that connect all human beings. We are on this green and blue ball floating in the middle of what seems to be infinite black. And as different as we are on this ship, there's also things that connect us, and laughter being one of the things that connects us. I remember being in the northern mountains of Vietnam, in Sapa, the Hmong people who live up there, that tribe. And Charlie and I went up there. We were doing our thing, and a guy walked up to us. He was an anthropologist. He was amazed by what we were doing, and he said to us, I've been here for 6 months working with the people here, studying their ways. You guys have gotten more into this culture in one afternoon than I have in 6 months, just because you made everyone laugh. So even though we are incredibly similar, we're incredibly different. And that's what makes life both fascinating and exhausting. Everyone is born with a sense of humor and ability to laugh. That there isn't a certain tribe or a certain type of people that don't laugh. You don't have to go to school to learn how to laugh. In fact, laughter sounds the same in every language.
We made that video in 2 days using a free software program called iMovie, and it ended up being the most watched video we've ever made. It even got picked up by Oprah and put on her blog. You don't need to be an amazing filmmaker to make good video. Sometimes all you need is a stack of photos, decent music, and a great interview. Now, I've given this workshop several times, and about a year ago, at the end of one of my workshops, a young woman pointed out to me that the balloon hat video was an outlier. She said that most people don't have access to incredible photos of beautiful people from around the world with colorful balloon sculptures on their head. And she went on to point out that this guy had a crazy story and that most organizations generally don't do things as interesting as travel around the world making balloon hats for people. I felt these were valid points, so I looked on the internet for a video that used average photos with a more typical story, and this is what I found.
looking at Molly and how far she's come and thinking of the doctors telling us that she would never be able to do these things. That they felt that she would never walk and she would never talk. I remember saying to myself, no, I don't believe that, and I'm not going to let that happen. I never saw the things my child couldn't do. I only imagined what she could.
In addition to being a beautiful ad, there are two things that really impressed me. One, none of the photos they used were good. They just used crappy photos the mom had taken. And two, the story wasn't that unusual or spectacular. This was a simple 53-word story of a mother trying to get her daughter the best in life. Crappy photos, decent music, and a beautifully told simple story. I will say it again. You do not need to be an amazing filmmaker to make a good video.